Episode 9, Shattered Paths, Echoes Converge. Vane behind you, I yelled. Before she could react, one of the hulking figures slammed into her, sending her sprawling across a table laden with strange fruits. The table splintered, scattering produce everywhere. Mrs. Davis, run, I shouted, shoving her towards a narrow alleyway. I focused my energy, blasting the other enforcer with a wave of power. He staggered back, momentarily stunned. I didn't wait. I launched myself at him, fists flying. You shouldn't be here, I grunted, landing a solid punch on his jaw. I erased you, he snarled, grabbing my arm and twisting it behind my back. Pain shot through my shoulder. You can't erase what's meant to be, he growled. The twisted Keira brought us back. And now we're going to make you suffer. He slammed me against a nearby stall, the wind knocked out of me. I gasped for breath. Vane, I managed to choke out. I felt a surge of energy behind me. Vane, recovered from the initial attack, launched herself at the enforcer, her sword a blur of motion. He released me, turning to face her. You again, he sneered. That's right, Vane retorted, her eyes blazing. And this time I'm finishing the job. Their swords clashed, the sound echoing through the marketplace. I scrambled to my feet, trying to catch my breath. Mrs. Davis was huddled in the alleyway, her face pale with fear. Are you okay? I asked. I don't understand what's happening, she stammered. How are those creatures here? It doesn't matter, I said. We have to get out of here. This place is a death trap, but where do we go? I don't know, I admitted. But we can't stay here. Come on, I grabbed her hand and pulled her deeper into the alleyway. The marketplace was descending into chaos, the alien merchants and travelers scattering in panic. This way, I yelled, dodging crates and overturned stalls. We ran through the labyrinthine alleyways, the sounds of fighting echoing behind us. I could hear Vane's grunts and the clang of her sword, but I couldn't see her. I hoped she was okay. Are they following us? Mrs. Davis asked, her voice trembling. I glanced back, but the alleyway was empty. I don't think so, I said. But we can't be sure. We reached a dead end, a brick wall blocking our path. Great, I muttered. Just great, what do we do now? Mrs. Davis asked, her voice filled with despair. I scanned the wall, looking for a way out. I spotted a narrow window, high above our heads. Can you climb? I asked Mrs. Davis. I don't know, she said. I haven't climbed anything in years. We don't have a choice, I said. Come on, I'll give you a boost. I crouched down, offering her my back. Step on, I said. She hesitated, then placed her foot on my back. I stood up, grunting with the effort. She reached for the window, her fingers grasping the edge. I got it, she said, pulling herself up. She disappeared through the window, and I waited anxiously below. It's clear, she yelled. Come on up, I jumped, grabbing the edge of the window. I pulled myself up, wriggling through the narrow opening. We found ourselves in a dimly lit room, filled with dusty furniture and cobwebs. It looked like an abandoned shop. Where are we? Mrs. Davis asked, looking around in confusion. I don't know, I said. But it's better than being in that alleyway. We crept through the shop, our senses on high alert. The air was thick with the smell of dust and decay. Hello, I called out, my voice echoing through the silent space. Is anyone there? No one answered. We reached the back of the shop and found a door leading to a narrow staircase. Let's go, I said, leading the way up the stairs. We climbed to the top, emerging into a small attic. The attic was cramped and filled with junk, but it offered a view of the marketplace below. Look, Mrs. Davis said, pointing towards the marketplace. I peered through a crack in the wall, my heart sinking. The hulking figures were still there, searching for us. They were moving methodically, their eyes scanning every corner. They're still looking for us, I said. We have to stay hidden. How long do you think they'll keep looking? Mrs. Davis asked. I don't know, I said. But I don't think they'll give up easily. The twisted Keira wants us dead. And she's not going to rest until she gets what she wants. Suddenly, we heard a noise below, a creaking sound coming from the stairs. They're coming, Mrs. Davis whispered, her voice filled with panic. Quick, hide, I said, grabbing her hand. We scrambled behind a pile of old boxes, holding our breath. The footsteps grew louder, closer. The door to the attic creaked open, and one of the hulking figures stepped inside. He scanned the room, his red eyes glowing in the dim light. I held my breath, praying that he wouldn't see us. He moved slowly, deliberately, his gaze sweeping across the attic. He stopped, his eyes fixed on the pile of boxes behind which we were hiding. My heart pounded in my chest. He took a step closer, his hand reaching out. Looking for something, a voice said from behind him. The hulking figure turned around, his eyes widening in surprise. Vane stood in the doorway, her sword dripping with a dark, oily substance. "You," the hulking figure snarled. "That's right," Vane said, her eyes blazing. "And I'm here to finish what I started." She lunged at him, her sword flashing. The hulking figure roared, raising his fists to defend himself. I seized the opportunity, grabbing Mrs. Davis and fleeing from our hiding place. We ran towards the back of the attic, searching for another way out. "Where do we go?" Mrs. Davis asked, her voice trembling. I spotted a small hatch in the ceiling, leading to the roof. "That way," I said, pointing towards the hatch. I climbed onto a nearby table, reaching for the hatch. I pushed it open, revealing a narrow opening to the roof. "Can you make it?" I asked Mrs. Davis. "I'll try," she said, her voice filled with determination. I helped her onto the table, and she reached for the hatch. She pulled herself up, disappearing onto the roof. I followed her, scrambling through the hatch. We found ourselves on a sloping roof, overlooking the chaotic marketplace. "We have to get off this roof," I said. "Before they find us again." "But how?" Mrs. Davis asked. "It's too high to jump." I scanned the rooftops, looking for a way out. I spotted a series of interconnected rooftops, stretching towards the edge of the marketplace. "We can jump to those rooftops," I said. "It's risky, but it's our only chance." "Are you crazy?" Mrs. Davis asked, her eyes widening in horror. "I can't jump across rooftops." "You have to try," I said. "It's better than being captured." I took a deep breath and leaped across the gap, landing safely on the next rooftop. "Come on," I yelled, beckoning her forward. Mrs. Davis hesitated, then took a deep breath and jumped. She landed awkwardly, stumbling but managing to stay on her feet. "I did it," she said, her voice filled with surprise. "Good," I said. "Now let's keep moving." We ran across the rooftops, jumping from one building to the next. The hulking figure was still in the attic, searching for us. I could hear his roars of frustration, but he couldn't reach us. We reached the edge of the marketplace and jumped onto a narrow street below. The street was deserted, the alien merchants and travelers having fled the chaos. "Where to now?" Mrs. Davis asked, her voice trembling. "I need to find Vane," I said. "I can't leave her behind." "But it's too dangerous," Mrs. Davis protested. "Those creatures are still out there." "I know," I said. "But I can't abandon her. She's my friend." "I'm going with you," Mrs. Davis said, her voice filled with determination. "I'm not going to let you face this alone." I smiled, grateful for her support. "Thanks," I said. "But it's going to be dangerous." "You don't have to do this." "I know," she said. "But I want to help. You saved me, Keira. Now it's my turn to repay the favor." We walked back towards the marketplace, our senses on high alert. The streets were eerily quiet, the silence broken only by the distant sounds of fighting. "Vane," I yelled, my voice echoing through the empty streets. "Vane, can you hear me?" No one answered. We reached the edge of the marketplace and peered inside. The scene was chaotic, the alien merchants and travelers still scattering in panic. I spotted Vane in the center of the marketplace, battling the hulking figure. She was fighting fiercely, her sword a blur of motion. But the hulking figure was strong, and he was slowly gaining the upper hand. "We have to help her," I said, focusing my energy. "But how?" Mrs. Davis asked. "We can't just run in there. We'll be killed." "I have a plan," I said. "But it's going to be risky." "Follow me." I led Mrs. Davis through a series of back alleys, circling around to the other side of the marketplace. We reached a tall building overlooking the marketplace, a building with a series of balconies. "We can use those balconies to get a better vantage point," I said. and maybe find a way to help Vane. We climbed the stairs to the first balcony, peering over the edge. The hulking figure had Vane pinned against a wall, his fist raised to strike the final blow. "No," I yelled, unleashing a blast of energy. The blast struck the hulking figure, sending him stumbling back. Vane seized the opportunity, kicking him in the chest and creating some space. "Keira," she yelled, spotting us on the balcony. "Get out of here." "It's too dangerous. I'm not leaving you," I shouted back. I focused my energy, unleashing another blast of power. This time, I aimed for a nearby stack of crates, hoping to create a distraction. The blast struck the crates, sending them tumbling down, scattering their contents across the marketplace. The hulking figure was momentarily distracted, giving Vane a chance to regroup. "Mrs. Davis," I said. "I need your help. Can you throw something?" "Anything?" Mrs. Davis looked around, spotting a pile of rocks on the balcony. "I can do that," she said, grabbing a rock. "Aim for that creature's head," I said. "And throw it as hard as you can." Mrs. Davis took a deep breath and threw the rock. It sailed through the air, striking the hulking figure on the back of the head. He roared in pain, turning towards us on the balcony. "Again," I yelled. Mrs. Davis threw another rock, and another, each one striking the hulking figure. He was becoming increasingly agitated, his attention divided between Vane and us. "Now," I yelled to Vane. Vane seized the opportunity, leaping forward and plunging her sword into the hulking figure's heart. He gasped, his eyes widening in surprise. He slumped to the ground, defeated. Vane pulled her sword free, wiping it clean. She looked up at us on the balcony, a faint smile on her face. "Took you long enough," she said. "We had to get creative," I retorted. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," she said. "But we need to get out of here. Now." "I have a feeling the twisted Keira isn't going to let this go easily." "Agreed," I said. "Let's meet back at the boat. And then let's get as far away from this place as possible." And then it happened. The sky ripped open. Not just a little tear, but a massive, gaping maw of swirling colors and impossible geometries. From it, something colossal began to emerge. Not another enforcer, not more shadowy figures, but something different. Something that dwarfed everything we had faced so far. The air crackled with energy, and a sense of dread washed over me, more intense than anything I had ever experienced. "What is that?" Mrs. Davis whispered, her voice trembling. Even Vane, seasoned warrior that she was, took a step back, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and fear. The emerging form solidified, revealing itself to be a grotesque parody of a humanoid figure, composed of raw energy and fractured realities. Its eyes burned with a cold, malevolent intelligence. "That," Vane said, her voice barely audible, "is an avatar of the twisted Keira's power. And it's here for us." The avatar raised a hand, and the ground began to tremble. The crossroads, already a chaotic and dangerous place, was about to become a battleground unlike any we had ever seen. And I had a terrible feeling that this time, we might not survive. To be continued.